welcome to another. Can you slide over just a tad bit that way? Because if I'm sitting slide your chair. Welcome to another edition to the Tell the Truth podcast. I am your host, D. Taylor, and
it's me, y'all.
Okay, yep, that's her. And did I do it right again this time? Did I just cut them off, or
it slid out? It was like a fade away this time. Yeah. And I listened to last week's show again, and I was like, "Oh, that's awful."
What the fade down?
You didn't fade out.
I did fade out last week. It was the week before last that I didn't fade out. But But if you was on your job, you know you the fade out music person.
You took that away from me.
I did not take that away from you. You was never on time. Like you were late today. You was always how you late in your own house.
Touche. Let's keep moving.
On tonight's show, we're not gonna get into trash today because we want to really concentrate on this topic, on this couple, on these people, our very great friend. What do it look like? We are not focused tonight. You are focused. I'm not focused. But it's gonna be all right. We are not.
As long as y'all can hear.
We are just the interviewers. We are. Oh, that's getting on my nerves though. I'm gonna have to fix it when we get up. And we are going to be talking with the Jacksons, Pastor Micah and CC Jackson. We've been knowing them I ain't gonna say all our lives, but for a large portion of our lives. And we're going to unmute them and bring them on the screen. welcome to the show, guys. We're ecstatic about having y'all. Okay, I'm about to say I know I unmuted them.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And we thank you guys for joining us for this special program on tonight. Y'all can talk now.
We were over here laughing at y'all.
Yeah, we cut up.
That was a light version of our beginning arguments. It got worse than that.
We cuts up.
It got worse than that. But thank y'all for coming on with us today. We're going to start off by just getting y'all to introduce yourselves for a little bit. And since we're delving into the relationship aspect, we'll get you to share a little bit of your story together, and then we'll go from there.
All right. So I'll start. I am, as you all know, the assistant pastor of 7th Street Memorial Baptist Church, but by vocation, I'm a licensed professional counselor and certified substance abuse counselor resident. And so that's what I do. All day I work with people who are in acute mental health crisis. And so my responsibility is to evaluate whether or not they can go into a program that keeps them in the community, or if they need a higher level of care, which may mean hospitalization. So that's what I do all day.
And you're an author?
Oh, I have a book. I forgot about the book.
Come on now.
Okay. I forgot about the book. So just go ahead and just put my website up. It's www.cbcva.net. And
ho, you know I ain't that fast. I was typing something on my phone. Go ahead.
www.cbcva.
CDTVA?
CBC.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
We family.
CBCVA.net.
All right.
Is that gonna come out right?
Probably.
And if it's not right, I will fix it again.
That's why I'm not in the controls.
That's it.
That's it.
Look at you.
Hooked on phonics work for me.
So if you go out to that website, that is the website for my business, and there's information on there about me. And also, if you go to our store, that's where you can look at our book. And the book is called Preserved for a Purpose. So, and then I'll let him talk about him and my book.
Okay. That's a good segue.
That is.
Yeah, so the book, I always like to remind her of the book because the book is such an intriguing read even for people who don't like to read. I love books, but I don't fancy reading because I read slow. But the way the book reads, it's almost, I characterize it as like walking through a museum. You see the sights, you smell the smells, you feel the feelings that's happening as she's telling the story. She chronicles it from a biblical anchor. So she takes the story of Joseph, and we all know the pit to prison to the palace. You know, we've heard that. But she chronicles her own life alongside that as well. And it kind of is a good read for anyone who is trying to figure out why God is allowing what God allows and why God is seemingly taking so long to kind of be responsive to what seems to be emergent needs in a moment. So I always like to recommend that book. It's a good read. And everyone who has grabbed hold of that book has responded in kind. Many of which read it, pick it up, and don't put it down until they finished. So many have come back and overnight and said, "Hey, I finished the book. This was everything to me." So it's a great read. It's a great read, and that's her first literary labor of love that has been published. So certainly want to make sure that people are aware that she does that, along with her 5 degrees and 1 more in the works and all this other stuff that she didn't say. But we'll go on. We'll come down to the calm side, which is me. So I am the pastor of 7th Street. We've been at 7th Street now for 15 years. 15 years technically. Yeah, 15 years. It's been that long.
Y'all getting old.
Right.
You know what? You're right. Because yeah.
Oh, I know I'm right about it. You didn't have to validate that. I've been there for 15 years. And yeah, we've been mountaintops, valley lows, bright days, dark nights. We've been through it all. So 15 years. But we love the folk we serve. So that's what makes it doable and worth it. But I am also a staff chaplain for Bon Secours Mercy Health System. Have been doing that for the past 6 years. Working on supervisory education, which is someone who teaches pastoral care or teaches those who are interested in chaplaincy, and also eventually going to get back into, once I work through some of this certification stuff, work my way back into finishing my doctorate. So that is kind of the nuts and bolts of where I am and who we are. I guess that's all y'all wanted. Did y'all want more than that?
Well,
we are parents of adult children, and we have 3 grandbabies.
3. He is turned up. I'm not going to even look over there. I'm not going to even.
We okay. We're all right.
I'm not.
Oh boy, yeah.
Welcome to the tale.
Well, we are live and in living color.
Good day. All right, take that website down though. Good day. You okay?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we're I was plugging because we got a battery camera. I was plugging up the spare battery just in case,
to make sure we don't run out of.
Yeah, and the way the ironing board was set up down here, it took out some stuff. So yeah.
That's what happened when we had these in-home studios. People don't know the struggle is real.
It is very real.
Trying to get the lighting right, the sound right. We get it.
And about 6 months ago, our producer quit on us. So we've been trying to rock the whole thing by ourselves. So yeah.
Yeah.
So explain to me, how did you guys meet?
You want to start this story, or you want me to start?
Okay, so I had to preach, and I had to go out of town. So I called a mutual friend and they said, call Micah Jackson. And I was like, I'm not calling him. I don't even like his name.
Wow.
And they were like, no, for real, see, for real. You gotta, this dude, you gotta hear Mike, you gotta hear him. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll call him. And so I called him. It was maybe like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I wanted to talk to him, and, he came recommended, but I wasn't too sure about it. So I called him and he was asleep at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I just left a message with his roommate, and I was like, well, yeah, okay, just can you ask him to give me a call? And so he called me back later that evening, and he just kept calling and calling and calling.
Oh no. At some point I have to take this story over because it does
every time.
But yeah, so she did call me to come preach on the recommendation of a friend, and I was working nights at the time, so of course I'm asleep during the day because I don't get off until the morning. So when I called her in the afternoon, I called her and I said, hi, may I speak to, at the time, CC Miller? And she said, this is her. I said, well, this is Micah Jackson. I'm returning your call. Her first words were, hey, Sleeping Beauty.
The shade from the start. The shade.
So, but we ended up having about an hour and a half conversation, that very first conversation. It went from what she needed me to do to almost like a getting to know me, because she didn't know me. So she was getting to know me. So preaching ministry, how long I had been preaching, which hadn't really been long at that point. I think it might have been 3 years at that point, 2 years or something. Mm-hmm. Just kind of getting to know me, and me in turn getting to know her. And then when we got off the phone, I immediately called a mutual friend and said, who in the world is CC Miller? Because when she jumped on this phone, just that ain't normal, Right. So, and what we found out, a little bit later, maybe the second conversation, what we found out is we went to the same school, same high school. We worked in the same ministry circles, but somehow we never connected. We never met each other, but we're at 2 major churches in the city. She was at St. Paul's, I was at 5th Street, but we just never connected like that. And this was kind of the initial
and y'all know how we did Eagle Eye.
Yes.
Y'all know, everybody went to Eagle Eye.
Right.
We were never there at the same time.
Wow.
So, right. How did that even happen?
That was way before
there. We never connected with each other. We never interacted with each other.
Which in and of itself is still hard to believe, as y'all also well know. It's hard for any regulars, any major churches of any sense, I don't even want to say churches, any significant youth leaders not to connect with each other on the mountain. That's what we did. That was like our hiatus. Mm-hmm. And for us to never connect, but find out we had all of these mutual connections and all of these mutual stomping grounds was just kind of amazing. But we connected when we did. And, from there, I will say, after a few conversations, from there were moments where she tried to kind of push me away, and I kept pursuing. So there won't know I called her all the time stuff. but it was very much a pursuit. So
I remember distinctly, I had not met him. I had not seen him in person. And so a lot of phone conversations we would talk for extended periods of time. And so I happened to ask him, I said, where's the next place you're preaching? Because I planned on just kind of showing up, sitting in the back, just making sure that he was okay. So he told me where he was preaching, and I was like, okay. So I had planned in my head, I was going to go and hear him preach. And then I was thinking to myself, we're having these really good conversations. So he probably is about 4 feet tall with buck teeth, because nobody, I'm thinking he had to look like a troll because it sounded good.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go meet one of the lollipop kids. And so I decided to go to the church. And when I went to the church to that night, I was sitting in the back and everybody was like, come on, Reverend Cece, you want to go in the back with the preacher? I was like, no, I'm good right here. And I sat there and something said inside of me to go and pray for him. And I was thinking, no, we good. No, I'm good. Right here. I'm good. And something said, move now. And I immediately got up and I went into the back. He was in the pastor's office. And so when he opened the door, I kind of knew who he was, but I was surprised that he looked good. Like, oh. Okay. So then, so I introduced myself. And after I introduced myself, I said, you know what? I said, I actually came in the back to have prayer with you before you went out to service. And before we could even have like a moment, another youth minister, youth worker came busting in the door and she was all the shambles and she was dragging a child in tow and they needed prayer. And so we just kind of looked at each other and he said, since you were going to pray, why don't you just pray for all of us? And I did. And so, I prayed for, everything. I went out there and after he preached, I went up to tell him that he had did an all right job. He did a good job. So when I went up to tell him that I had really enjoyed his preaching and I had, enjoyed the service because the service was really good, he kind of pulled me to his side. And I kept trying to go, but he kept, he had me at his side. So everybody was like, oh, y'all together. That's so cute. And I was thinking, no, let me go. But that night, he kind of pulled me to his side. And, I guess that's where I kind of stayed.
Wow. That's awesome. That's an awesome story. Awesome way to meet. Just by happenstance. That's how it really won't know social media. It won't know nothing. If you ain't have a phone number, you ain't have nothing.
No damn.
Because there wasn't none of that.
None of that.
None of that was out. I mean, it might have been out, but we didn't know nothing about it.
We still had flip phones back then.
No. This was before the flip phones. This was like when the prime codes first came out.
With the little phone that had Snake on it.
I was offended. He's offended.
That's the one game.
You did not have to out us like that.
Hey, look, I'm right there with y'all. We were still hyped when somebody had a phone in their car in the bag.
Oh my God. And he had a big bag car phone in his car.
No, I did.
Yes, you did. He had. Listen.
But let's not talk about the whole weight she had for a phone that you couldn't even wrap your whole hand around.
The Nino Brown joint.
Oh my God.
Y'all remember them phones that used to come in the bag?
Yes.
That's what he had. That you had, and you couldn't even plug that thing in. What kind of car did you have, Daddy?
Next question, please.
Let's talk about it. Because y'all remember, who was that used to say, if you plug the phone in, the car stop?
What?
Wait, what?
It takes us so much to charge the battery. It was like carrying a suitcase.
Oh my goodness.
Now you mentioned, both of you mentioned some sort of reservation from Reverend Cece's end. Can you explain your slight reservations?
Who, me or him?
You.
Oh, so I, at the time, I was single, I was preaching, I had kids. I was very protective over myself, my ministry, my kids, and I was not going to entertain any type of foolishness.
Okay.
And so my reservation was self-preservation and to make sure that I was okay and to really actually try to be an example for my babies, not just my babies, but my youth ministry, because I absolutely adored my youth ministry. And I was so grateful to be a part of that church family and just having that opportunity. So I was really just kind of reluctant, and I've never been anyone to deal with a whole lot of nonsense. So I was like, then I'm like the wild child. So meeting him was like
the exact opposite.
Y'all
have known me long enough to know that.
So like,
because sometimes on them lives you be looking like you be hurting to get on them.
He does. I know it's a whole new world.
He wants to do it.
Right.
And how long did it take for me to even want to do one? Exactly. Exactly.
Coming from the non-speakers of the group, I mean, because if you notice, like in the beginning, and that's the running joke at the beginning of the podcast, when he introduces us, why I need to say my name? Y'all know who podcast it is. I don't want to go through all that. Hey, y'all, I'm here, and I'm going to begin to speak now. I don't need to introduce myself.
Let's do this.
Yes, exactly.
Y'all have always had that connection, though.
Yes.
The two of y'all have always
That's my sister.
had.
That's my sister.
Yes.
Always had. Me and Darrell go hard. Have always had that, that calm, smooth.
Both of us can't be on 10. Both of us can't be on 10.
Well, I get it.
And people don't understand that, they somehow people think that couples should be exactly alike, and actually you don't want someone that's exactly like you. You want someone that brings something that you don't have, that you are not, that complements you, right. And once you get to the understanding that you're not competing with each other, it makes it work, So I don't mind if I ain't the most enthused, but she popped the phone in my face and say, hey to the people, hey, we'll get excited about it. But you got enough energy for both of us, I feel like. So, we'll get into it. We'll warm up.
She like, hey. Look at her.
But now she's the social media influencer. I'm the one behind the camera now. I'm taking all the pictures.
Right.
Again, I don't have to do a whole lot of speaking. I take pictures.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Oh, we had a question from the audience. He said, when did y'all know y'all would be lifelong partners?
Wow. So wait, let's give them the timeline.
Yeah.
So we talked on the phone like June or July.
Mm-hmm.
We met in person in August.
Mm-hmm.
In October, he told me I was his wife. In December, he gave me a ring. In May of the next year, we were married.
Okay.
Wow, that was fast.
Right. So July, August, September, October, that was 3 months. And then November, December was 5 months. And then we got married in May.
Wow.
So it's fair to say you all knew pretty quickly.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that was due to us. So we didn't go on a lot of dates.
Okay.
Right? We did get together. I would go and visit her and the kids, but we didn't do a lot of dating, but we did a lot of talking.
Okay.
So those long inclusive of the first conversation, those long conversations kind of, that kind of built intimacy, that kind of built a foundation for us. And so, pretty much did know kind of quickly, the way the conversation worked out was, my wife constantly kind of forethinking it, and she had to, because she has stuff to think about that I did not have to think about. Mm-hmm. But we started talking about, so what if we're still together in 5 years? What's going to be our story? And I pretty much said, if we're going to be together in 5 years, you're going to already be my wife. Period. Mm-hmm. There's no second thinking that. And that led into a little deeper of a conversation, which kind of got real deep to the point where I think that night maybe we kissed and you ran in the house, or I said something and you went running back into the house.
I think that was a night that we shared a kiss, and I said something like, you know, I was teasing him, and I was like, you know, forget you or something like that. I said, and because we had that conversation, I was like, boy, forget you, you know, because I'm thinking, you know, yeah, bruh, no. No, and so I was like, forget you, and then go ahead and tell them what your line was. It was smooth now, and then go ahead and tell them, because then I'll tell them my part.
I said, you can't forget me because I'm not in your head, I'm in your heart.
Okay.
Oh!
Write it down, y'all. Write it down.
Got the carnival horns on
And
it.
I was like, bro, I'm gonna go ahead and leave right now.
I mean,
for you with my drones. So you want in my head, my heart. My job is to infiltrate your spirit. And I was like, well, you can take your head, heart, spirit, go on out of here. This ain't a party, bro. I shoot them all and shut the door. And I was like, what?
She turned around, literally, after I said that, she turned around and walked back in the house. She
and shut the door.
It wasn't no goodbye. We did. I mean, we talked on the phone briefly after that, but it won't know. The conversation ended with that. To be honest,
that was it.
Yeah. So,
nothing else to say.
nothing else to say. I mean,
he tried to bomb. So they goes through.
I'm trying to tell you, and I won't read it, so I had to excuse myself. I said, he ain't gonna trip me up.
And they are right. On the sidelines, Mom said her and my father are the poster children for opposites attracting. They are that. They are that. So we can exactly. They are. So how long have you all been married?
It'll be 22 years in May.
That's about right. Yeah.
99.
Oh yeah.
We're in 21.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because it wasn't long after we've been married for.
Yeah, y'all got married in 99. We got married in 2000.
Yeah.
99 into 2000, juvenile.
Boy.
So both of you being pastors, both of you being ministers, and been in the game for a while. How has ministry affected your marriage or impacted your marriage? We know that's how y'all got together, but how, with being married, how has it impacted?
I don't think it impacted it. I think that we were always balanced. So I think that we learned through conversation just how to balance stuff. You know, because it was never just about ministry for us. It was always ministry and family and work, and it was school. So it was always having to balance so many things at one time. So one of the things that we learned via ministry was that people would try to, in their own way, and I don't think they meant to do any harm, but they would say, "Oh, I love the way he preach," or "You, he preaches better than you," or "You preach better than her." And so this is what people was, and they did not mean any harm. Oh, yeah. I really don't think that they were malicious. Well, if they were, I would have gotten them straight, but I never really got that feel. But some people, I did. Okay, well,
got them straight. So yeah.
So maybe because my face says a lot more, right. But I think that people would say, you know, and then I would always say things back like, well, we're two different people. Mm-hmm. So we're not supposed to preach the same, or we're not the same person. So I think that was how we had to learn how to balance in ministry, where when he's preaching, he's the preacher. Yeah. Right. And I'm there to support the preacher.
And vice versa.
And when I'm preaching, I am the preacher, and he's there to support the preacher. Mm-hmm. So we're very balanced and make sure that we make sure that the attention is where it's supposed to go. Whoever the person is, the prophet of the hour, the preacher of the hour who stands up, that is the one that the support leans toward. And so that's how we kind of learned how to balance that. Mm-hmm. And then we balanced also with our schedule. So a lot of times we're in two different places. So I don't know if y'all heard me teasing him because we share a calendar where he can see where if they put if the team puts preaching engagements on there, we always know where each other is at. So we learned how to balance what that looks like, and then say, well, these are days we're not going to preach, and these are the days that we're going to spend together. So that's how we learned how to balance that.
Yeah, and then there was always the other side of the whole she preaches better than you piece, is being able to appreciate what who each other are. So I can appreciate the gifts in her. I'm not like her. I don't preach like her. I can't get up and stir you like her, or at least not immediately or as quickly as she can. That's a part of her giftedness. I don't think like her. I don't read like she does. I'm not the same student as she. We're two different people. But when you can appreciate that and not be envious or jealous of your spouse, I think that makes a big difference. So you appreciate and celebrate it, that she can get up. And, I'll tell anybody, she's the preacher of the house. She can stir you in a matter of minutes. With me, it's going to take about 15, 20 minutes before I get you getting into it. That's just who we are. That's our personality. That's our giftedness. I focus more on educating. She's high on inspiration, and there's nothing wrong with that. We complement each other, and these gifts, and that's not to say that I can't inspire and that she doesn't educate. It's just to say that's where we find our strength, or at least our platform, so we appreciate one another's gifts and we understand how we complement each other, as opposed to having this envy for the other and she getting all these preaching engagements and ain't nobody calling me and all that petty stuff. That's really, but that at the end of the day, it don't matter because it's all coming from one house.
Right.
I mean, the gifts are coming from one house, one family, and when you learn how to appreciate that, you don't undercut yourself in the process. So you don't make, I hate to say it like this, but you don't make ministry the major thing. Ministry can't be the first thing, that it's family, it's home, it's time. So I think that's probably what we probably naturally went into with, because we, like she said, was balancing so many things. And we didn't walk into this thing pastoring. So thankfully, both of us were working in churches, but we weren't the pastors. So the buck didn't stop with us. We didn't have to spend all day there, and we learned how to do that. And then we had to learn, because both of us were youth ministers, we had to learn how to balance giving ourselves to our young people and making sure we give ourselves to our children. So it balances the key word, that we had to learn very quickly, sometimes very naturally, and sometimes just through trial and error.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing. One of the many things I had to learn is trying to balance the ministry and the family, and trying to make sure I don't spend more time in the ministry than I did with the family.
I'm glad y'all mentioned calendars, because that was a part of my next question. Because both of you, the pair of you, are extremely busy between school and ministry and your families and all of that good stuff. Tell me, as far as when the calendar is being coordinated and all the schedules are being done, has the weight caused any tension at all? So you're balancing all of these things, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna need you to take a time out for a second. Or I need your schedule to look like this, or any of that. So tell me how that dynamic works with your calendar.
So again, we kind of came into this, both of us having multiple things going on, and it grew from there, but we were already trying to balance stuff. So I don't want to say it doesn't create tension. I think when you pull two individuals together, it's going to cause tension, because you have to learn how to operate as one as opposed to two individuals. So when you bring two busy schedules together, yeah, there are going to be some conversations, need you home a little more, or hey, I got to do X, Y, and Z. This is what my week looks like now. But for the most part, we pretty much understand that we have to one, let each other know schedules, but two, we've always had to balance it because we had kids, so we had to make sure somebody was home with the kids. Both of us were students, both of us were in ministry, both of us were working jobs. So those three things both of us had going on from the beginning. So we had to coordinate schedules, and there were moments where, both of us had preaching schedules on top of all of that. So we had to say, hey, I got to preach XYZ day and this day. You got to preach this day and that day. Look, need you home this day. I'm going to stay home that day. So those kind of conversations happened. Mm-hmm. But I felt like it was almost organic for us because we went into this with having to juggle time schedule and demands upon our life.
And I didn't really see it as tension, because with that, we always had a deal that if we were in revival and we had multiple days, the kids didn't go to every day. So the kids were at home, and we, especially as they got older, the only days that was mandatory for them to be at church was Wednesday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. So we kind of balanced that with them, and they were glad for us to be gone. All right, y'all go preach, they got a certain age. Yeah, go preach. So that was cool. And then like now what we do is we have people that look at our schedules, and they'll take engagements for us, and they'll check with us, and we kind of check with each other and say, hey, is this still good for you? Or are we going out of town? How are we going to do that? And then even in the midst of all of that, we have words that we say to each other. It's a difference between I want you to be home and I need you to be home. Absolutely. So when you say I want you to be home, then it's like, okay, well, can I do this and then be home by this time? Mm-hmm. That's what I want. I need you to be home means, do I need to cancel this so that I can be where you need me to be? So those, wants and needs and that type of communication is what we do. And if someone says that we need, if we say to each other we need, then, we instantly know that somebody has to fill in, or we need to have a conversation about what time we need to bring it on in and shut it down. So
because we could very well be in the house still working hard, and we need to coordinate. Okay, we're gonna work until 11
o'clock. Yeah, that's time.
That's and we're gonna be together until we fall off.
Yeah.
And that's the other major conversation, because we have two grown children, so we're empty nesters now. So a lot of the coordination, if you will, the intentional coordination is so that we can have time together. Because, I'm gone even with the pandemic. Now, when the pandemic was around, any one of us subject to be gone most of the day. But, I can't work from home, unfortunately. I wish I could, but I gotta go. So, and she's here. So we have to coordinate. All right, I'm off this day and this day. What will work for you so we can have some time, some date time, just us time. We did this with the kids. We would carve out space and time. I remember one day we had a picnic on our bed in the bedroom with a do not disturb sign on the bedroom door. I mean, just coordinate time for just us, not just home time, but just time for just me and her, so that we can have that time together. Because like now, eventually the kids gonna grow up and go. They
got their own family.
Yeah, and it's just us, and we need to learn how to appreciate and share with each other. So that was a part of that learning as well.
We have another question. The question says,
that was one of mine too.
Are there times when you agree not to talk about church on purpose?
I almost said hell yeah.
Most of the time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're still alive. I need some water. No, but so here's what it is with church. We love our church family, and they know that we're always available to them. But our church family loves us enough to respect boundaries. And they've always done that. Mm-hmm. And I remember us being out, that's because we set boundaries. Let's say this. We set boundaries going in the door. But they also love us enough that when we would be out of town and something would happen, they wouldn't even tell us.
we would
find out
some other kind of way.
We would have to find out some other kind of way, or we would call in to check in with the kids, and the kids would tell us, and then we would call the person and be like, we didn't know you was in the hospital, and they'd be like, well, you on vacation, like we bothering them. We
didn't want to tell you.
We didn't want to tell you. So we've always had that balance with our church family. So that has always been a blessing. But then add to that, there's so many other dynamics that we actually will say, this is the day that we're going to talk about church stuff. Okay. Today is church day.
Between these hours and this hour.
Right. And we have agendas. We have agenda items.
Nice.
And we send each other the agenda via email ahead of time and say, these are the agenda items that I want, and these are the agenda items I want, so that we can be intentional about it. So it's not just back and forth and, we're going to spend all day doing this. No, we're going to have some resolve to it, and we're going to deal with it, or we're going to table it and deal with it the next time. But that does not encompass all of our existence and our being, and our church family as well. Like, it's like certain times they won't even call us. Like, if it gets late and they have to call us late, when we pick up the phone, the first thing out their mouth is, I'm so sorry, I got to call you this late. Because I guess, for us, we have a church family that loves us. So they've always made that easy for us. That hasn't been hard. And
our church family kind of knows our demands as well. They know the church is not everything for us, that we have school, that we have other jobs, that, we have family, we have all these other things going on. So they have a great sensitivity toward it. I would say abnormal, as far as my congregational experiences are, an abnormal sensitivity to that.
Yeah, because they be like, you ain't need to know that, so we waited.
Yeah.
We be like, what? Why didn't you tell us?
Yeah.
They be like, oh, we handle it. Don't even worry about it.
That's awesome.
That is awesome, and I can also attest that we kind of have that kind of dynamic in the field as well, because my trustees they won't tell me some stuff until it's fixed. They will get it fixed, get it done, and say, this is what happened, this is what we had to do. I'm like, all right, that's your job, because they realize, from 7:30 to at least 5 o'clock, I'm at the job would pay my house note. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then with having ministers that are retired, oh Lord Jesus, thank you, hallelujah, because they take on a lot of that. My executive minister, which is also my mother-in-law, my mother-in-law, she takes a lot of the stuff that I don't have to deal with and let me focus on word and family.
Yeah. And that's a blessing. So we have been blessed to have that.
She said, just this week, someone called her and said, I know you're on vacation, but, and she was like,
no, they don't. They don't. They won't. And we are grateful about it, because we wouldn't want to hurt nobody's feelings.
Okay.
So that's good.
Because they know I can't pick up the phone. That's why I'm not allowed phone privileges.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed phone privileges, because I'm like, he's not available.
Right.
He's not available.
It's just sad. And people have to, and I think that comes with relationship and with consistency. So when you have good leaders, then the good leaders can say, no, you're not going to get it. Because everybody knows, and they still talk about it to this day, that Sunday evenings was family day for us. Mm-hmm. So Sunday evenings, even as youth ministers and stuff, we didn't take any phone calls. That was our family time. And that was going to be whether we went to the movies or whatever it was, that was family time for us. Mm-hmm. And so we always had clear, distinct boundaries around our time. And I have no problem saying no. No is a complete sentence that does not require an explanation.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if you all may not have heard. So we've had different conversations. Or last week's show, take for instance, was a different topic on a different type of relationship. And the dynamics of relationships have changed over the years. So what my parents' relationship looks different from our relationship, and I'm sure my children's relationships will look different than ours. So what advice are you giving as you see changes in relationship to younger couples?
Oh, you want me to answer that?
Sure.
So it is different. And I see people all the time put stuff up and they say relationship goals, or they want to be like this person, or they want to be like that person. But I'm going to use Jada and Will for example.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody saw the Jada and Will that everybody loves, that looks so good and so wonderful together. But until they did that round table, nobody really understood how close they were to walking away. Even though they say, you know, we decided we would never walk away, but all of the turmoil that they had gone through to get to the Jada and Will that we see. And so what I would say is, you know, not so much focus on relationship goals with someone else, because you don't know what they have to go through. So spend your time, instead of paralleling your relationship to somebody else, to investing in your relationship with that person and making it what you want it to be, creating the environment in your relationship that you want it to be. And that may be through talking, that may be through fighting, you know, and not getting along and having those hard discussions and walking away sometimes and taking some time for yourself. Because all of those things have transpired in the Jackson household. So when people see us and they see the love that we share, they don't see the tears that we've cried. They don't see the times that we've walked away from each other. They don't see the times where we actually said this is it right here. And we don't care what nobody else thinks and what nobody else says. This is it. And the times that we just wanted to, you know, to give up, and we had to learn how to work and walk through that together. So let your relationship be your relationship, not what somebody else thinks it should be.
Yeah, and I mean, we live in a social media world where people live their lives on social media, which is beyond me. But I think, because we get this a lot, you know, this whole relationship goal. People see us or see a picture of us or a note that we left each other, just because we feel like that's the quickest way that the other will see the message, or maybe even just a tribute. It might be a just because day, could be a special day, you know, but they see that, and, you know, that's relationship goals. But like she said, you know, it's a lot of private pain and pleasure, but it's a lot of private pain.
I knew she was going right. She was not going to miss it.
Leave the studio, y'all.
See, so this is where me and Tyann was right here. Darrell was like, he already on Twitter.
He's about to be OVR. But yeah, so it's a lot of private pain and pleasure that go into those moments. And you know, and one who thinks that relationship is every day a sunshiny, all googly eyed and kissy and hugging, that ain't every day. That ain't, if you real, that is not every day. You know, there are two individuals, and these two individuals we have things we have to learn. We have things we are unaware of until we become one. There are things that we struggle through. There are things that we as a couple will face and have to deal with. There's how we raise the children. You might have one way, the other person may have another. There are finances. I handle mine one way, you handle yours another. There are a whole lot of things you got to work through, and you work through them privately. You know, so when you see those public moments, and they're real and genuine, we don't fake it. We don't script our public appearances at all. Y'all have seen some of them lives that she put on very quickly and abruptly and impromptu. That is the real deal Jackson experience. That's who we be. You know,
on the whole long.
I ain't lying, because ain't no telling what might come out. You know, you know, that's the real deal. And you know, I think some of our most raw, if you will, is those lives, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how we're going to start. We don't know how we're going to finish. We don't know what we're going to talk about. It's just she might feel the need for a live, or I might feel like I want to do a live, and we pop it up, and it whatever comes out, you know. So it is the real, but it does take a willingness to learn self, learn the other person, and learn what you two together can be and do, and appreciate that, as opposed to, like she said, looking at somebody on a screen and saying, oh, that's where I want to be.
And we do not always sit around this house and read a Bible
and pray
and speak in tongues.
But y'all sure enough eat good around that jank. Woo!
Don't hate.
Listen, because people think, we sitting around here with a red hymnal and stuff, and that's not, we not always speaking in tongues and rolling around in the floor. And
these must be people that have never seen you all before, because I've never gotten that from you all.
You never get that vibe.
I've never gotten that from you all.
We intimately know them.
Yeah, the real of it is, I would tell people, laugh often. Find something that's going to bring you joy, because in those difficult moments that we've had, it is the joy that we've had that has sustained us in those difficult moments. If you don't have any joy with your lover, your spouse, then you're my lover and my spouse. We're about to end this interview. But for real. You made me forget what I was gonna say, girl. You have to be able to laugh. That's what I was saying. You have to be able to laugh and enjoy one another. And in this pandemic where everyone is talking about, people ain't gonna survive this, couples ain't gonna survive this. Yeah, you won't survive it if you don't know how to love each other and enjoy each other's company and laugh with each other and joke with each other and throw shade at each other and all that good stuff. Because all that stuff, I'm glad she got that on tape. Always says that I am the one.
But shady by nature.
Look, those moments will take you a long way. In those private moments, I ain't talking about the stuff you do in front of everybody. I'm talking about those private moments will take you a long way. They kind of fortify you.
Yeah, because one of the things people don't realize is, even in ministry, a lot of couples, because we human beings, go through a lot, and sometimes we have to protect our reputation, and really can't talk to a whole bunch of people, and we have to have people that we feel that we can trust to share intimately with. And I know it was a time early in our marriage that we was at the point of like, yo, we done. It's over. All right, let's figure out how we're gonna split these kids up. But it was y'all that kind of brought us to some sense and the ability to communicate, talk through, and figure it out. And I think people don't realize, because it's easy now to get in marriage and easy to get out. You know what I'm saying? Because people just, he ain't do this or she ain't doing that. You don't need them in your life, and that happens so much now because of the public persona that everybody try to live their life at. And I have never understand that it's complicated relationship status. Either you with me or it ain't.
The entanglement.
The entanglement. That's exactly what.
Entanglement.
And I think we were talking about this last week as well. It comes down to accountability, and nobody wants to be held accountable. Once you decide on whatever agreement or whatever terms that is to be in a relationship with somebody, you are now accountable for that person. And I think people just don't want to be held accountable, not only for themselves, but the people they are partnering with. So they just, people they're expendable. So,
That's a good one.
We got about 5 more minutes, and I'm gonna let y'all go and get off this live and handle whichever y'all need to handle. Fifi get in trouble, handle whatever y'all need to handle, because I know it is family night.
First of all, if we end abruptly, you'll know why.
I want to say thank you guys again for coming on and sharing. We have done a few different relationships. We had the love and basketball relationship. We had the 40+ year relationship. We had the
singles
on and talking about how hard it is to find somebody. And on the male point,
hard for singles right now.
At this moment, yes. That was about 2 years ago, but it's got worse.
Woo.
It's got worse.
Jesus.
I feel sorry for him. I mean, and only in the sense that what you said, Tyann, there's nobody wants to be accountable. And everybody has gotten so individualized that nobody wants to be accountable. So it's hard to find that person that wants to be accountable and that you can be accountable with.
Right.
Yeah, I feel sorry for them.
And nowadays, you don't know what you're getting into.
You know,
all the layers and hair pieces and women.
Nothing is at face value.
Masks of makeup that people are wearing and all manner of you don't know what you're getting.
You don't even know if it had one of these or not.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying what I'm saying. You don't know what you're getting.
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
Well, again, we thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. We're gonna end. Huh? Oh, do y'all have any? Yeah, thank you. You have anything else you want to leave the people? The people.
The peoples.
I know. I don't. Do you? I don't.
No. He said no.
Let me tell him something in his ear and let me see if he can come up with something.
Okay.
All right.
They so funny. Whatever it is,
we love y'all.
Oh, all right, time to go. Get real.
I'm saying,
Burn chicken, wow, chicken, wow. Thank y'all again for tuning in. Remember, you can also catch us now. Please follow and subscribe on our YouTube page. We're here as often as we can be. We try to do this weekly, but if our mental and spiritual capabilities ain't there, we ain't coming on. And I don't even know what we got for next week. So we'll figure it out. We're surprised. We might just have a trash episode of telling me what's going on.
Trash
we ain't doing no trash this week. We might just have a trash.
We didn't feel like talking about Ted Cruz.
Nah.
So we'll back up trash next week. So y'all tune in and thank y'all again, Jacksons, for tuning in to our foolishness. Our foolishness.
We always have fun when we get together.
Oh
so.
Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait till this pandemic is over for all of us to sit down and have a dinner conversation.
Thank you, baby.
I heard you to my soul to say it like that.
I know it did. and just relax and
for everybody that's watching, this is how we do all the time.
We are unapologetic with who we are.
Somebody else's wedding,
right? Oh no,
this is how we do. We go to other folks' wedding and act just like this.
So that meme that going around that says that anybody you can't sit next to in church.
that it don't for all of us to be together. If all of us was together, the only person that would have a serious face in church.
I know, yeah.
He done threw me out of church before. But he has made me get up and leave church.
And the fact that we can text each other the foolishness now doing church.
But to your left. This is so anybody who's watching, find a couple that you can laugh with and just so that you can, because we cut up. It doesn't matter where we are.
No,
We love y'all.
we love y'all. Thank y'all.
So much. Good night.